Hi, everybody. Welcome to Write the Right Rules, Get the Right Data webinar. Today we'll be focusing on two of my favorite custom logic features on the Force.com platform, validation rules and lookup filters. I'm Mary Scotton, and I am on the platform product management team. I'm responsible for these features and other point-and-click customization tools that hopefully you've been using to make Salesforce apps your own and possibly to build new apps without writing any code. I'm joined today by Darren Kemp. You may have seen us together at Dreamforce, and we are considering starting a roadshow. This is our second gig together.
Roadshow?
So, hey,
I didn't even think about a roadshow, Mary. We should let's start in Vegas. I love Vegas. Let's go there.
I love Vegas. Can I dress as Elvis?
Yes.
Excellent. All right.
You can. So my name is Darren Kemp. I work out of Premier Support in our Toronto office. And I'm very passionate about this. You know, I say to my customers all the time, and it drives them crazy, but it's true, garbage in, garbage out. And using validation rules and lookup filters would be a good way to avoid that very bad scenario.
Great. And so I'm also really excited today to have the chance to talk about validation rules and lookup filters with you. And we both really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to spend this hour with us. So we can't see you, kind of a little awkward. So, but we're curious to know a little bit about you. Can everybody please take a look at the poll on the GoToMeeting and let us know if you consider yourself a newbie with these tools or somebody who has some experience, or are you an expert on validation rules and lookup filters? Getting these poll results, we'll give you a couple seconds to fill that in. And the results of the poll will really help us with kind of targeting what we covered today. All right, so we have those poll results. Tell me all of them, Sharon. Okay, so the bulk of the crowd is in the 59% of folks saying that they have some experience, which is great, right? We have 3% newbies, 8% some experts. So we have a little bit for the newbies. We'll kind of take it slow as we walk you into the first demo. And for the experts, we're going to get into some more advanced tips and things to do in the demo as well. So hopefully the sweet spot is everybody's got like a little bit of background, and we're going to take you through how to really get the power out of these tools that you already have. So first, I want to make sure we take care of a little bit of bookkeeping. Our safe harbor statement. And if you haven't seen it before, Darren, have you seen this before?
I've seen this so many times, Mary.
Okay. Can you quote it for us, or should we just say, you know what, the webinar is going to be recorded. If people really want to kind of read the details, they can do it later. No quiz at the end?
Let's do that.
Quiz? All right. In that case, let's jump into the agenda and talk about what we're going to cover today in the next hour. Like I said, we're going to talk about the tools that you already have. Right? We're not here to sell you anything. We're here to encourage you to jump in and use these two tools that you already have in your Force.com applications. So I, have worked with a lot of customers who aren't really taking advantage of these tools. Darren, have you had that experience too, where people are kind of like not aware of the feature, or maybe they're a little bit daunted by the learning curve?
All the time, but we were able to walk through it, and before you know it, they're writing validation rules and lookup filters, and everything's working great.
All right. Well, hopefully that's going to be the outcome today. You're all going to go back and start implementing those rules. Now, you can start implementing them right now, but, what do you think, Darren?
No, not a good idea.
Not right now?
No, not now.
Okay.
Maybe after the webinar.
Okay, so after the webinar. So don't start, coding rules as we talk now. But we're going to take you through just kind of a high level of what validation rules and lookup filters can do for you. And then we're going to go through, Darren's going to do some demos of how you can use the tools today. And then you're going to be the first on your block to see an exclusive sneak peek as to what's coming up in our summer release. We're going to see dependent lookup filters.
Hallelujah.
If you've been voting for that on the ID Exchange, you're probably very excited. Darren, are you excited?
I am, finally. Good job.
All right. Hey, we're going to leave some time at the end for questions. And the way you do the questions are you type them into the GoToMeeting, and you can actually do that at any time during the webinar as they come up, and then we'll field them at the end. And we have a lot of folks on the call, so I'm probably not going to get to all of them, but we'll do our best. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about validation rules. Validation rules are your best defense against bad data. You want to use them to verify the data that the user enters at various data entry points, right? They're actually going to run at the database level, so they apply across the data entry points from data upload to the end user interface, both in the standard and custom user interfaces. So by enforcing the business rules specified by you, you're going to work with you're the administrator, you're going to work with your business users to figure out, which fields are required, what is the right format for a certain account number or something, and is there what values are valid values, what's the right range maybe for these. And so to do that, you're going to use formula functions and expressions to evaluate data. So I'm guessing the folks who said they have some experience have maybe written a formula field, or maybe have done some validation rules, a little bit familiar with our formula language. It's also very similar to Excel. So if anybody's used formulas in Excel, it's going to look a little bit similar to that. One of the other aspects of the validation rules is that you can customize the error messages that come up when your users are saving, and that way you can guide them to the correct entries using your own business language. And the goal is really to make these checks and enforce these business rules before the records are saved, so that you can have data quality. And Darren, what do we say there? Good data in, good data out.
Garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
Kind of like the positive, more like the good in, good out. Maybe can we change this a little bit?
Well, that's the goal. Good in, good out.
Good in, good out.
Think,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So before we go on and talk, I love validation rules, but I do have to admit that I was not the inventor of validation rules, and they were introduced just as I was starting at Salesforce 4.5 years ago. So Darren, how about you? Were you around when validation rules were introduced?
I wasn't. I didn't come in. I didn't want to start until after they were created. So I started. I've been here for about 3 years. I
see. And what kind of exciting, maybe, I don't know, were any exciting features came out in your time here?
Everything after validation rules, Mary.
Well, okay. So some of those features I have worked on, and we've rolled out some new functions for validation rules. We also rolled out cross-object formulas, which Darren's going to demo actually an example of. And unfortunately, for those of you in that some experience category, and definitely for the 8% of you who are in the expert, my claim to fame is killing is pickval. For those of you who know what that means, I apologize for having is pickval in the first place, and appreciate your encouraging me to kill it. So I think I hear some clapping out there from the experts who were, and Darren's clapping as well. So that was a pain point, and we were motivated to make that change based on feedback on the idea exchange. Speaking of the idea exchange, this next feature, lookup filters, is something that I can't really take credit for because it was an idea that came out on the idea exchange, was posted by one of our customers, and then it was voted up by the Salesforce community to almost 19,500 votes as of last count. And so this is a feature my team's been working on for the past year. It started with a pilot release in summer '09, now available to all customers in a beta release. And lookup filters are similar to validation rules. They enforce your business rules on the save of the record, but there are two key differences. The first is that they're proactive. They're restricting the lookup dialog results, right? Your users are going to click on the lookup dialog, and they're going to start to search for a record, and we're actually going to apply the filter right there. So they're not even getting results that aren't valid. They can only pick valid results. All right, so that's really going to increase their user productivity. The second difference is that it is based on some criteria that you define as the administrator, but the criteria is defined with a filter, not a formula. So a lot of the feedback we have gotten from administrators is that formulas are great, but they're a little intimidating, but everybody can make a filter, right? And users are making filters. You do filters with reports or in list views, and so make it a little bit simpler. And so we feel like we've really nailed that the lookup filters are not as robust. You can't do as many complex things as you can do with formulas, but they are very, very simple to use.
Mary, I think this might just be your claim to fame. I've already worked with a ton of customers who've implemented lookup filters, and we've seen a lot of great results. In fact, the business cases that we're going to go through today are actually use cases for my customers.
Great.
So it's a great technology, but at the end of the day, what are the business benefits?
So glad you asked, Darren. You know, rules and filters do deliver real business benefits. Right? It's not just some cool technology that we have been having fun with here in R&D. So when you define the rules for the data in your business, and then you guide your users to enter the right data, then what you're enabling is better data quality, as we've talked about, improved efficiency, right? The rules and the filters are these automated gatekeepers. So this is stopping the wrong data from coming in, so you don't have to clean up the bad data. And there's higher productivity. With lookup filters, as I said, they're proactive. And so they can enable your users to find the relevant data they need faster. And all of this does bring you some strategic benefits, right? You're reducing risk. You can ensure data entries are in compliance with internal and external requirements. You're lowering your costs. You're doing less cleanup, less bad data. You're also improving customer service. When your data is more consistent and has higher quality, then you're better equipped to serve your customers, and you're also better equipped to close your deals, right? By providing the right data needed to target prospects, you can close more deals. So Darren, I think, people might be, they have a good sense maybe now of validation rules and lookup filters, and they're probably ready to see, okay, great, show me how it works. Can you take us through some examples?
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Mary. So I'm going to be taking you through a few demos today of what we have in Salesforce to help you ensure good data quality. We're going to go through a couple of examples of validation rules and some lookup filters. We're going to start out simple, like we said, for the newbies in the room. And we're also going to include some more complex examples for the more intermediate users. So with that, let's get started. So let's take a look at the first validation rule. We're going to start out with something simple, like I said, and then we're going to get a bit more complex. So in a lot of sales organizations, account executives making manual owner changes has been an issue. Ideally, an admin would love nothing better than to hide the change owner link completely, but you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
So this is where we can use a simple validation rule to prevent this change. So let's go into the app and let's see what we can do. So here's our account screen, and we've all seen this a million times. So let's just go and see how we can create.
But it's like kind of puffy and blue. What's that?
It is. It's our new UI. It's the new look of Salesforce.
Well, I want to take a poll.
Did you come up with that one too, Mary?
Poll. I did not, unfortunately.
All right.
But hopefully, if everyone's migrated to the new skin.
True. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to look at account validation rules. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on New because, of course, we have to create one. So like anything else in Salesforce, we have to give it a name. So we're going to call this one Prevent Owner Change. And then we're going to go down and we're actually going to start coding in we're going to code in the rule. So what we want to do for this is we want to say, okay, well, if you're not a sales manager, because those are really the only people that you want changing the accounts. So we're going to say if you're not a sales manager and you're trying to change the account owner, then we're not going to let you. So the way that looks is we're going to use the and statement because we're checking two things. So first thing we're going to do, as I said, is we're going to check the current user profile that's logged in. So we're going to go here, use this great little picker tool. We're going to scroll down to, we're going to go to profile, and we're going to see what the profile is of the person that's logged in. So we're going to go to profile, we're going to pick name, and we're going to say insert. So we're going to say if the profile of the user that's logged in is not the sales manager, and they are trying to change the owner, so we're going to go over here, we're going to pick is changed, we're going to enter that in, and then I'm going to scroll over here and I'm going to go back to the account owner, and you can actually just kind of, go down to O just by clicking on your O button and then scroll down to owner ID. We're going to insert that, and there we have it, and that's our rule. So let's just read that again. So we're checking two things. We're using the and statement. We're going to say, okay, so if you're not the sales manager and you're trying to change the owner ID, then fire the error. It's as simple as that.
Darren, that is really simple, but sometimes I'll have not written validation rules or formulas for a while, and I can't remember what the syntax is for these functions, like that and the not and is changed. Like, how do you remember what to type in there?
Well, luckily for us, we have this functions list over at the side, so it actually has all the functions listed. But in the example that you just used, so is changed, what we can do is if we look down here, we can see it's got an example of is changed. It says exactly what the function is. It tells you how to use it. It's really great. And then if you want some examples, if this doesn't quite ring true for you, all you need to do is click on help on this function. That's going to bring up a list. It's going to actually show you examples of how you can use is changed.
Great, thanks.
So now that we've got now that we have the formula kind of written, let's click on syntax, check syntax, and we'll just make sure that everything's okay. Oh, as you see, I've missed the end.
That happens to me all the time.
Me too, all the time. I'm always trying to figure out which bracket I missed. But in this case, it's easy because it's the last one. I'm going to click on check syntax again. Now, of course, your syntax is checked when you click on save, but it's always a good practice to kind of check that before you move it on. Now we're going to put in a custom error message, and we're just going to say, you do not have permission to change the account owner. That, and now we're going to pick where we want it to show. So we can either pick it to show at the top of the page or at the field level. For us, let's show it at the field level because that's kind of how I like to do it. So I'm going to say account owner, and we're going to click save there. And that's our rule. So let's go see this in action. So let's go back to our accounts tab. We're going to go into Acme Resellers. I'm just going to pick any random account. So we'll use this competitor account here. And I'm going to try and change the account owner. So I'm going to pick on my little filter here. And it's going to bring me up a list of, the recently viewed users that I've used. So I'm just going to pick one at random. Of course, I normally wouldn't do that, but for this example, I will. I'm going to click
Maybe
save.
That's why you need the rules, so people aren't picking them at random.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. So as you can see, that errors out properly. So it's got you do not have permission to change the account owner. It's got my fancy writing in there. So I'm going to click cancel on that. And then just to show you, we can actually, that doesn't prevent you from changing anything else. So as you can see, let's just change the industry. We'll click save. So there we go. So I am actually able to save the record with no problem.
That's pretty important, right? I imagine
Yeah.
If you write a validation rule that doesn't let anybody save or any records, that's probably not the outcome you're looking for.
That would definitely be an issue. Definitely be an issue. Okay, so let's just go. That's our first little simple demo, but I just have a few takeaways for you from that one. Oh, there we go. Oh.
Where are those takeaways?
Bear with me while I try and find. There it is. There's the takeaway. Thank you, Mary. It's a good thing I have Mary in the room here with me. So that was a pretty simple example of a validation rule, but a few key things to take away. So remember, you can leverage custom error messages for your validation rules. You really want to use the custom error message to drive the cause of the failure home per user so that they know what they did wrong and what they can do in the future to make sure that doesn't happen to them again. And also, as Mary pointed out earlier, validation rules fire on a lot of different data entry points in the app. So we need to make sure that we test these to ensure that while we're preventing what we want to prevent, that we don't unintentionally block something else. So keep those things in mind while you're developing validation rules. So we'll be going over a more complex rule later, but for now, let's go take a look at lookup filters. As Mary mentioned earlier, lookup filters are pretty new to Salesforce, and they're really quite powerful. So in this example, Universal Containers has a custom object called sales events. Essentially, these are customer events like lunches or conferences that they put on for their accounts. However, they only want these to be done for certain account types. So specifically, they only want them to be created for integrators, partners, prospects, and customer account types. So currently, their creators are using them for all of their account types, and it's causing some problems. So we can do this using a simple lookup filter to address the issue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that filter, and we're going to expand on it a little bit to make it a bit more complex. So let's go and take a look and see how we can do that in the app. So here we are. We've come back to the same account, and we're just going to start with this one. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and create our lookup filter. So we're going to go to our custom object for the sales event.
That's my development org.
Oh, okay. So we're going to go into our sales event, and we're going to go down to our custom object, and we're going to pick sales events. And then we're going to go to our account lookup, our account field here, and this is the one that we want to put the filter on.
So
we're going to
that's
do
a master detail field. So the feature's called lookup filter, but can you also use it on, you can use it on lookups and on master details?
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. So we're just going to go into edit mode here, and we're going to go down to our lookup filters. And Mary, what's the deal with this? Why does it say lookup filter beta?
Yeah, lookup filters are in beta. And so at Salesforce, we have three main release types. The pilot, which is where different accounts are nominated to be in a small pilot as we start to build a feature. We want to get some feedback on it before we roll it out to everybody. And then the second is the beta release, where we do roll it out to everybody, but we only include the functionality that we're really done with that's high quality, and there are some feature gaps, right? So when we first rolled out lookup filters, there's a big feature gap, which we're about to close in summer that we're going to show you later for dependent lookup. So we wanted to say, hey, this is beta, go ahead and use it, but there's some things that are missing. So definitely expect that there might be areas that are missing. And then the third type is when something's generally available, and we're done with working on it, and now it's good to go.
All right, now I get it. Okay, so we're in our lookup filter here, and as you can see, right now I've got all of the accounts available in my lookup right now. So any account that I already have visibility to, I can see in this lookup filter. But obviously we don't want that anymore in this lookup. So we don't want that anymore. So let's just go and tighten that down a little bit. So we're going to go into define some filter criteria. We're going to use this great kind of type ahead functionality, and I'm going to pick type. And I'm going to say equals. And then I'm just going to go and I'm going to pick out the account types that I want available for this. So again, we said customer, integrator, partner, and prospect. So any of those people we can take out for lunch or something.
You don't want to take your competitors out to lunch?
No, I don't think so, no. And then we're going to apply a custom error message. So we're just going to say account is invalid. Oops. Say account does not exist or is of the wrong type. And I'm going to save that. And then we're going to go back to this one. So if you remember the account we were looking at before, so it's a competitor account. So let's just see if I can create a sales event on here. I certainly shouldn't be able to, so I'm going to say new sales event. I'm going to call this lunch. We're going to go out with Acme resellers. We're going to do this on the 30th. Just going to skip the description. We're going to go for $100. Facility city we're going to do it in is New York, and I'm going to go here, and it's going to give me all the ones for New York. Oh, it gives me everything. Everything, Mary. This is driving me crazy.
You don't want to go out to lunch in Toronto if you happen to be in New York? That's
No,
weird.
Not really. I don't even want to have to look at it, Mary. Can we do something about that?
I wish we could.
Me too. So let's click save. And as you can see, it's not letting me do that. And the reason it's not letting me do that is because Acme Resellers is a competitor. So let's close out that, and let's go look for a good account. So I've wiped that out. So I'm just going to click here on my lookup filter, and I'm going to see what I can see. And as you see, any of the recently viewed accounts that I've been in appear here, but the difference is that it's been filtered out. So what is not showing here is I can't see any of the competitor accounts that I've already been on. And as you know, this account here should have shown up for me, and it's not. So that's good. Good news. So I'm just going to take a shortcut here, and I'm going to go with United Partners, and I'm going to create a sales event for that one. I'm going to click save, and it's let me do that. So that's great. So that's our first lookup filter, and that was a pretty simple one, right? But let's make that a little bit more complex. Let's say that, I only want my partner sales executives to be creating sales events for partner accounts, which, makes sense. So can we do that in the app? I think we can. So let's go back to our account filter, our account field that we were just on before. And I'm just going to extend this a little bit.
Darren, it doesn't look like you can write a very complex rule there. There are only 2 rows.
Well, there's only 2 rows for now, but this is very similar to anything that you'll see in list views or reports or anything like that. So I can actually add up to 10 rows and then use my advanced options. So how great is that? So the first thing that I want to do here is, because I just said we don't want everybody creating partner events, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take partner out of here. So now if someone were to log in, the only thing they can see is customer, integrator, and prospect, but that doesn't really help me for partner sales execs. So here's what I'm going to do for them. I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to pick current user profile. And that's, of course, again, the user that's logged in. I'm going to pick current name, say equals, and then I'm just going to scroll in here, and I'm going to pick partner sales exec, so that's the one that I want to use. I'm going to insert that, and then I'm going to use type again. And this time, I'm only going to put equals partner. I'm going to insert that. I'm going to go into my advanced options, and right now I've got 1 and 2 and 3, and of course that's not going to work. So I'm just going to change this to an or. I'm going to put a bracket here and a bracket at the end. So basically what that's saying is show customer integrator and prospect account types, or if you're logged in as a partner sales exec, show partner.
Very cool.
I'm going to leave the custom error message the same because that actually works for this one as well. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to go back. And now that I'm on this partners, let's see if so I just created a sales event earlier, as you saw, and I'm a system admin, my profile. So let's just go and see if I can create another one. So again, I'm going to go into sales events, and I click new sales event. I'm going to say lunch with Mary. Mary's going to take me out later. She doesn't know. There's United Partners. So we're going to do that today.
Excellent.
And we're going to go out in San Francisco.
That is where we are.
Yep. Actually, you know what? Let's go to Toronto.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, it's nice and close, Mary. It's not a very far ride. We're going to go to the Four Seasons because Mary's feeling generous today. Oh, but unfortunately, I can't create a sales event on this customer because it's a partner. So as you can see, it's blocked me out, and that's our advanced validation. Even though you're a system
administrator, you don't have the power?
That's right. It overrules that because it's going only by profile. So because my profile doesn't match, I can't do it.
Great.
And that's how you can do an advanced lookup filter. Okay, so as a recap, remember that if you want to use your lookup filters to be more complex, you can leverage the power of the advanced options. So again, these are the same as what you've seen in list views and reports, and the same rules apply. So using these is a great way to accommodate more complex business logic and rules. So we promised you we were going to, and now we're going to take a look at a more complex version of a validation rule. Excuse me. So
for those of you who were kind of tuning out, and now you're the expert mode, that's hopefully that this is going to give you a little something to chew on.
Yeah, I hope so as well. Universal Containers is our customer that we've been going through. So they assign account ratings to all of their accounts, and they basically rate them either hot, average, or poor. And the rating that they assign to the account corresponds to the depth of the discount that they're allowed to be given. So what can we do with this? Well, we can control this through the app using a cross-object validation rule that looks at the account rating on the account, and it ensures that the discount that we're applying to the opportunity products is below the maximum discount for the customer. So let's just go and take a look and see. So here we are back in our org, and I'm going to go into the opportunity product validation rules because that's where we'll be working. And as you can see, I cheated a little bit. I admit I took a shortcut, but I didn't want you guys to have to sit through me typing all this stuff out. So I'm just going to show you how this is set up. First thing we're going to do is activate this. And then here we go. So basically, it's going to look at the discount that we're applying on the opportunity product. It's going to grab the account rating from the account. And then it's going to look at, it's going to say, okay, if it's hot, I'm giving you 45% and so on. And that's kind of how it's set up. How cool is that, Mary? Going back to the account.
That's pretty cool. Darren, I just noticed something that earlier I thought there were 3% of the people were newbies in the audience. But it turns out it's 33%.
Oh,
so there are a set of people who maybe have never seen the formula editor. So I do want to just take 1 second to cover kind of the 3 main components of the formula, which we did see in that simple example. You can insert merge fields, where you showed that really cool picker. You can also insert operators, right? And this is like the math, right? You're going to add plus, minus, and this is also where your parentheses are and those type of things. And then the last is the functions. So as you showed on the right there, all the functions are available and tells you what their syntax is. So you're combining these all together to create your business rule. Just wanted to take that quick second. Love your business rule. Let's see it run.
Good idea. Well, Mary, we should probably show them how this is pulled as well. We'll just do that really quickly. So how do we get to the account rating? We get to the account rating using that field picker. We're sitting on the opportunity product. We can actually go back up to the opportunity, and then we can go up to the account. And then when we're on the account, we can look at the account rating. So that's kind of cross-object scrolling at work. So again, opportunity product to the opportunity, to the account, and then you can grab the account rating.
So it's basically walking up those relationships. So the opportunity product is a child of opportunity, which is then a child of account.
Yep.
Very cool feature. I wonder who worked on that.
Amazing. I have a sneaking suspicion I know. Okay, so let's go and look at the webinar opportunity as I've named it. I'm very inventive today. So here we are on our on our opportunity. Let's go into our products. As you can see right now, it's got no discount on it, but I feel like I should give this guy a discount. So we're going to look at we're just going to actually go back and look at the account rating for this one so we can see that it's hot. So I can give up to a 45% discount on that. So we're going to go into the product, and you know what? I'm going to try and give this guy 50% discount. So let's go to $1,000. Going to click Save. And as you can see, the discount is too high for that customer, so it's not going to let me do that.
Wow, so it went all the way up there and all the way down and was able to pull that account rating. That's really cool. Although I did notice something, Darren, in your formula that's maybe not a best practice. So I have somewhat of a computer science background, and hard coding values in your formula is actually not, isn't that something that's not really a good practice? Because then if you're trying to maintain it, it's really hard.
Yes, it is.
Is there a way to get around that?
Yeah, and it's not the best also, I think, if, you're not the one making the changes. So let's, what we've done is we can actually create an account ratings discount custom object that can hold all the values. So as you see here, we've got the account ratings of poor, hot, and average. We've got the percentages that we were just talking about. So here we can see it's actually 50% that I've set up in here. And then what you can do is you can use VLOOKUP functionality in your validation rule. So we'll just look at that really quick. And what you can see is here's your VLOOKUP, and here's your object and how it's all rating back. And again, the VLOOKUPs are a more advanced validation rule. It's harder to do. So what you can do is you can just scroll down here in your functions. You can find the VLOOKUP, and this will tell you exactly what you need to do between a combination of this and of help on this function.
And I got to tell you that, I was the product manager for this function, but I actually, every time I use it, I have to go look at the example, copy and paste it into the formula editor, and then start to make those changes. So I'm actually a really big copy and paster, and I definitely recommend that that's how people can get started.
That's right. Good idea. Okay, so let's just go and take a quick look at that one in action, just so Mary and I aren't pulling your leg. So we'll go into webinar. As you know, we just tried to make this a 50% discount, and we couldn't, but I also showed you that in the account ratings custom object, we're allowed to go to 50%. So I'm going to go into the products. I'm going to click Edit. I'm going to change this to 1,000, and it lets me save. So that's kind of the two different ways that you can control that. Both of them advanced, just a different look at it, and lots of options that you have in Salesforce, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah, what I like really about that VLOOKUP is that the person who's doing the maintenance for those ratings or for the discounts is not the admin, right? They're a business user who's probably the one who's making the call about what the discounts are, and maybe they change a lot. So that's really decreasing the churn for the admin.
Yes, much quicker. So just a few key takeaways from that one. So you can crawl up related records to get information from them to use as the base of your validation rule, like we did in this example. So cross-object formulas can be used instead of copying data to other objects. Also remember that validation rules will fire on existing data when the records are edited or saved. So you may want to consider adding some date criteria onto your validation rule to ease the impact on existing data. So just to clear that up, your rule may sound something like, if the date is later than April 21st, 2010, make sure that the discount applied on my opportunity product doesn't exceed what is permitted for the account.
Yeah, that's pretty good caution there.
So those are some demos to give you an idea of what you can do today with the functionality, but unfortunately I don't have I don't have access to the development builds because Mary won't let me. But Mary, can you log in and give us a sneak peek of what's coming in Summer 10?
I would love to. We have, looks like we have about 10 minutes or so left before we want to take some questions, so let's jump in. I'm hoping that everyone's interested in this sneak peek, and
I am.
We'll tell you what's coming next. So as I mentioned, and what you just saw, Darren demo was what came out first with the lookup filters, because on that idea exchange idea, there actually were more than 150 comments, and it wasn't all about what you just saw Darren demo. It was, okay, that's really great. I want to be able to filter based on fields on the lookup object on something like the type or the status of the record, so I can filter what comes back. But people also have this idea that they didn't always want it to be enforced on the save. Right? Maybe we should have optional filters where the end user can decide, most of the time, you need this rule, things that match the rule, but some of the time the end user knows better and they actually need to override the rule. So that actually came out just recently in our Spring 10 release. And then the third big chunk is dependent lookup filters. And this is filtering based on fields that are on the current record. And this is something that's coming out in Summer 10. It's still going to be in beta.
Still beta? And Mary, where was that 10 minutes ago? Really?
We are working as fast as we can. We have 3 releases a year. The team's going at the fastest pace they can to deliver high-quality code. And I have to say that dependent lookups is still going to be in beta because we're still not done. There's one piece of that that doesn't work, which is that right now you can use lookup filters in your Visualforce pages. They just work. Right? Any lookup dialog that comes up in a Visualforce page has a filter applied, but we're actually still working on making dependent lookup filters work with Visualforce. So we're wanted to get the feature out for folks using our standard pages, and then follow up with the support for Visualforce in a future release. So we are working on it as quickly as we can. But what are dependent lookup filters, and what can they do? I probably don't even have to explain this, because everybody who hears about lookup filters is totally excited that then they can do what I'm about to describe now, which is something you can't do in the current release, which is to filter the values in one lookup based on the values from another field. In this example, in the screenshot here, what you see is that the account name is actually controlling the primary contact. So this lookup on primary contact is a custom field. And what we said is, the only people that make any sense to be the primary contact for this opportunity are people from the Acme account. Right? And then what happens is if you change the controlling field, the best part of this feature is that you're going to actually do the validation right there in real time and say, you know what, Leanne Tomlin, she's no longer valid because you just changed the account name to Global Media. So having that list of contacts filtered based on the account that the users typed in is something that everybody I've talked to has asked for.
Sweet. So can the filter only be driven by lookup fields, or are there other types supported?
Actually, there are other types supported, not all of the field types, but I'm going to show you an example actually of a pick list. And we can also use checkboxes, numbers, or dates to drive this rule. And you can also use more than one field, which is a little different than our dependent pick list, which is similar functionality. So let's do it. Let's take a look. What I'm going to do is I actually have built out a similar demo that Darren had done to the sales event, and he had done some subtle foreshadowing during his demo and about the facility city. So let's take a look at how we can create a dependent lookup filter that's going to compare the facility city on the sales event record to the facility city that I'm looking up against the sales event location. So let's switch over. Darren also gave you a sneak peek of my development environment. But let me just kind of start and show you. Again, I have kind of a similar setup here. I have these sales event locations, and I have on my account object a child object for the sales event. So if you don't remember, if you came in late, if I'm starting to create my sales event here and I pick a facility city, when I go to search for the sales event locations, nothing will happen. Has anyone ever demoed in their development environment before? There it is. Then what you'll see is a list of the recent items. Just as I have over here on the sidebar, these are the recent items that I've clicked on, and that's what's actually showing up here in my lookup because I haven't done a search yet. And so I believe Darren pointed out that it's a bit annoying that, I'm holding an event in San Francisco, but now I have to sift through all of these facilities, a lot of which have the same name, and I don't know which one to pick. So why don't we go into setup and add a lookup filter to our lookup to sales event location. Some of the things you're going to notice here, again, I'm in the development environment. It's a work in progress, safe harbor, and it is still in beta. And we've done some user interface changes, so it looks a little bit different than what you saw Darren working through. And these changes are all based on usability testing that we've been doing with Salesforce admins. The first change you'll see is that in addition to picking fields from the current lookup, which is what Darren had demoed, you can pick fields from the current record. So in this case, in my scenario, I want to compare the sales event facility city with not a value. I don't want to say I always want it to be Oakland or I always want it to be San Francisco. I actually wanted to compare it to another field. And so I want to compare it to the sales event location facility city field.
Amazing.
That's it. Simple as pie. And again, the facility city here is a pick list, not a lookup, but you can do a lookup. Oops. Not sure why that was still open. That's interesting. Development environment. Okay, so here I am, and I have, now let me see if this rule is going to take effect.
Hey, Mary, what's that? What's that I?
Oh, this little I here that did show up when I created that rule, didn't it? This is something you'll see on our dependent pick list. It tells you there's something special about this field, and what it is that it depends on another field. Okay. And actually, if it depends on 6 other fields, they'll all show up in this list. So the end user has an idea of what's going on here, because what's going to happen is when they click on the lookup dialog, instead of seeing that list of recent items that they know is there, they're not going to see anything. And that's because one or more of the controlling fields blank or invalid. So this hopefully, well, maybe they'll read that. I have to tell you, in usability testing, not a lot of people read those messages, but it is there in case they get stuck. But let's say, all right, I pick San Francisco, and now I come here. Boom.
Amazing.
Only the facilities that are in San Francisco.
Love it.
So that I know, Darren, would have been very helpful a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So, okay, maybe I'm, filling this all in, and it's going to be today or whatever, but I realize it's actually not in San Francisco. It's going to be in Oakland. So, Darren, what do you think is going to happen, now?
Well, I guess now you're going to have to save, and then, it'll come back and tell you you're wrong. Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's kind of a big loop, right? It's kind of a pain, right? So maybe when I pick it, boom.
Oh, look at that.
Right? It says, hey,
Mary,
the Hyatt's no longer valid. All right, so now the end user can go and pick and say, okay, you know what? It's not the Hyatt in San Francisco. Oh, look, it's actually going to tell me the Hyatt in Oakland, and now I can pick that and save.
That's amazing, Mary. Amazing. I'm clapping again.
Clap. Everyone's clapping. Is everyone clapping out in the world? Yeah. All right. Woo, coming soon to a Salesforce instance by you. Let's do it. So I really appreciate everybody spending the time with us. We need to kind of wrap things up so we have some time for your questions. The key takeaways are, go and do it, right? Define those business rules, use validation rules and lookup filters. Maybe even look at your existing validation rules. Can you make some lookup filters to help your end users go faster? And then, get some help if you need it. There's a lot of places that you can get support out there. So with that, let's take some questions. Looks like there's some questions that have already come in. See, is there a limit to the number of lookup filters that my org can have? Darren, you know that?
Let me think about that. Oh, 5. You can have 5 required, and I believe that unlimited optional.
Yes, it's true. All right. So let's see, some other questions.
You didn't really demo optional filters, so when should I see those? Another question we have.
So, yeah, we didn't have a chance to demo the optional filters. We didn't have time, but those are something I think people are going to use when the business rules is more of a suggestion.
Oh, okay.
And I actually think that with Summer 10, people will use these a lot more with the dependent lookups, because you can do things like the contact has to match the account most of the time, or you can do something like accounts that the user owns. Most of the time, they're creating records for accounts they own, but not all the time, right? So that's when I think you would use optional filters.
That makes sense. So it looks like we've got another one. Is there a way to see a list of the lookup filters for a specific object? So, for example, all the lookups to accounts, something like that?
Yes, actually, that's something that's coming out in Summer 10. There's going to be a new node in the setup tree that says, hey, for accounts, can you show me all the things that are filtering accounts? So that is something that we worked on for Summer 10.
Okay.
All right, are there some more? Let's see. Ooh, here's one. This is a very good question. Somebody, whoever asked this, is an experienced Salesforce admin. Are there any objects I can't use lookup filters for? What are the limitations of lookup filters? is it available for all objects or not? And
Yeah.
Darren, have you run into this?
I get that question a lot. Off the top of my head, I can think of cases, opportunities, products, campaigns. Those are some of the ones that you can filter.
You can or can't?
You can't.
Oh.
No, can't do those ones.
The product manager should probably put those on her list of things
Probably.
to do. Yeah.
Probably. Do you want me to get a pen?
Yeah.
Okay. But you can filter on things like accounts, as we did in the demos, contacts, custom objects, service contracts, things like that. Those are good to go.
All right. And what about users? Can you do users?
Yes, you can. Yep, you can do users.
All right.
We've got another question about the metadata API. So are lookup filters supported in the metadata API in IDE?
In fact, actually, that's one of the things that was not supported initially, one of the reasons that we were betaing. And just as of this week, we had a new IDE release, and they are now supported in there. So you can start moving them around using the IDE and editing them in the IDE. Let's see. Some more examples. Is soft validation possible? For example, can you give people a warning or a message but allow the record to save? The answer to that is not exactly. And so using optional filters gives them or directs them to the records that you think you want them to use, but we don't currently have a way to throw a warning on the save. Any of the messages that come up on the save are going to be blocking the save. One of the things you can do is, just quickly, is put a message up in the lookup dialog. This is something that's coming in summer 10, so you can't do this today, but we've added this custom text that you can write that shows up in the lookup window. You can write like, hey, only pick facilities in the city of your event. And what you're doing here is, rather than communicating on the back end when they save, right, after the fact, then you're communicating proactively, and you can say, as they're doing the search in the lookup dialog, this message that you wrote comes up.
Amazing.
That would be what I would suggest for that.
Pretty cool. What else we got? Is there a library of exchange or common validation rules we can leverage? Yes, there is. We do have those available, I believe, on the community. I think there's a page out there with a whole bunch of commonly used validation rules or examples, along with formulas, actually. Same kind of thing. Tip sheet.
Yeah, when formulas were released, it came out with 100 common formulas, formula fields. And then I think with validation rules, we didn't make it to quite 100, but there's also a PDF. You can also find it in the help and training link that if you search on validation rule examples, then you can take a look at those. And you can print out that PDF, put it on your wall, reference it all the time. It's good times.
Excellent. And your Premier support
There's a similar question to that about whether there's a book available for writing validation and processing rules. There are a couple of books available. There's the best place to look for that, and that's saying from somebody who's a programmer, the best place to look for that is on the developer.force.com website. There's a lot of resources out there. There's a cookbook that gives some real kind of concrete, deep examples, and then there's a book that takes you through building a custom app, and that hits on all of these point-and-click tools.
All right. See what else we have here. Going through the questions here. Hey, Mary, are lookup fields available for ideas as well?
I actually think that they're not. You cannot actually create a lookup field from the ideas object right now. And so that's something that's on their backlog to do. And so once they are available, then we should be able to apply the lookup filters there.
Okay. Here.
Another opportunity, which is tied to kind of. So we actually have two questions here, which are about dependent lookups. And so, people again, when people hear lookup filters, they assume that they are able to do what I just showed you, which is to be able to filter on something like contact based on the account that's been entered in there. So I think that's all the time we have right now for questions. I want to point you to some more resources to help you be successful. Hopefully this hour has been really useful and you're all fired up to go. This on-demand recording of this webinar is going to be available at the end of the week. And as we said, there's a lot of examples in help and training. And then I would say if you have other questions that we weren't able to answer today, go out to the community site and put in your questions, and often others in the community will answer, and I will also be taking a look at those. There's also the developer forum, the discussion board for formulas and validation rules specifically. So as you start getting into this, lots of folks will jump in and help you answer questions on that forum. And then if you really want to get your hands on it, take a look at our premier training possibilities on salesforce.com/training. And then, Darren, should they also maybe contact their premier support?
No. I'm kidding. Of course, you should always, check out your premier support account specialist who'd be more than happy to help you with any additional questions. We're always around to assist Mary. And if we don't know the answer, then we'll ask Mary.
Yeah, so that's great. All right, so I just want to thank everybody again for listening in today. I hope it was really useful, and that if you haven't already, that you're logging into your org and starting to write the right rules and get the right data, and enjoy. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Mary.